Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk through the science of storytelling, why stories make us human, and how to tell them better, by Will Storr, published in 2020. The book explores the significance of storytelling in human life. It begins by acknowledging the harsh truth that ultimately, life itself is meaningless and will end in death and oblivion. However, humans continue to live their lives as if oblivious to this reality, finding purpose and meaning in the stories they create. Stories allow humans to distract themselves from the existential dread and give their lives the illusion of meaning. The writer goes on to explain that stories are ingrained in human culture and have been integral to human survival since ancient times. Stories shape our understanding of the world and ourselves, and they engage our brains in a way that nothing else can. Understanding the science behind storytelling can help us become better storytellers by tapping into the neural processes that capture and hold our attention. Storr discusses the role of change and curiosity in storytelling. Unexpected change captures our attention and curiosity, and storytellers create moments of change to engage their audience. These moments are often found in the opening sentences of a story and create curiosity by hinting at the potential for future change. He also explores how information gaps and incomplete knowledge increase curiosity and the desire for resolution. He highlights the power of curiosity in storytelling and how it stimulates the brain's reward system. Additionally, he explains that our perception of reality is a constructed hallucination created by our brains, and that our senses play a role in gathering information to construct this reality. The brain has a limited capacity to process information, and anything beyond that limit is essentially edited out of our perception of reality. This includes auditory, tactile, and olfactory information. When our fact-checking senses are impaired, such as in cases of blindness or hallucinations, our brain continues to project a model of reality that may not align with the actual world. Our senses can only detect a fraction of the electromagnetic radiation around us, and our perception of reality is an illusion created by our brains. This has implications for how we experience stories, as our brains create models of the scenes described in books. Writers can enhance the reader's experience by using filmic word order, specific detail, and sensory descriptions to create vivid models in the reader's mind. The brain's automatic model-making abilities are also exploited in fantasy and science fiction stories, where the mere mention of certain names or details can make them feel real to the reader. The author explores the human brain's ability to create a specialized hallucinated world based on our survival needs. Humans have evolved to be social beings, with brains that are designed to interact with other brains. This socialization has led to a process of self-domestication, where humans have become tamer, better at reading social signals, and more dependent on others. Our brains have developed a theory of mind, allowing us to imagine what others are thinking and feeling. This capacity for understanding the minds of others is essential for storytelling, as well as for navigating the social landscape. Our ability to understand and control others has given us incredible power, shaping our society and allowing us to conquer the world. The brain processes information and constructs our perception of reality through neural activations. These activations generate associations and memories that influence our perception and experience. Research shows that our beliefs about the quality and price of wine affect our actual experience of its taste. This associative thinking is also what gives poetry its power, as it resonates with deeply buried memories and emotions. Metaphor is a fundamental way that our brains understand abstract concepts, and it activates additional neural models that give language more meaning and sensation. Stories simplify the complex and are an essential function of the storytelling brain. The neocortex plays a critical role in interpreting social cues, complex thought, and constructing elaborate theories and explanations about the world. Humans have a natural inclination towards storytelling, even when it comes to deep questions about reality and the origins of life. Stories have a basic structure of cause and effect, which is a fundamental way that the brain understands the world. The author then explores the power of cause and effect in storytelling. The human brain naturally seeks to make connections and create narratives, even when there are none. This phenomenon was demonstrated by Soviet filmmakers Pudovkin and Kuleshov, who showed that viewers ascribed emotions and meaning to the same expressionless face, depending on the context of the footage shown alongside it. Cause and effect is what fuels our curiosity and drives us to understand why things happen. However, crafting cause and effect relationships in storytelling can be challenging. It is important to avoid scenes that lack purpose or simply provide informational exposition. Instead, effective storytelling creates intrigue and leaves room for the audience's own interpretations and connections. The flawed nature of human perception adds to our fascination with stories, as characters' flaws and their journeys to overcome them resonate with us. Ultimately, great stories invite us to explore the human condition and engage with the characters' struggles. Storr discusses the concept of our flawed perceptions of reality and how they shape our beliefs and behaviors. He explores the story of Mr. B, who believes he is the only one who sees reality as it truly is, and the protagonist of Andrew Niccol's screenplay, The Truman Show, who discovers that his entire life is staged and controlled. The author also delves into the character of Stevens from Kazuo Ishiguro's novel, The Remains of the Day, who clings to the flawed belief in emotional restraint as the key to being a great butler. He emphasizes the importance of understanding a character's theory of control and how their core beliefs and personality traits shape their actions and drive the plot. Additionally, the writer touches upon personality traits and their influence on how individuals perceive and interact with the world. It concludes by highlighting the various ways in which storytellers can depict their characters' personalities and how these traits manifest in their thoughts, behaviors, and environment. The concept of behavioral residue refers to the things people leave behind in their environments that reveal insights into their personalities. These clues can include the state of cleanliness, organization, and personal items in a person's home. In Zoe Heller's novel Notes on a Scandal, the contrasting home environments of the two central characters, Barbara Covett and Sheba Hart, provide valuable insights into their personalities. These environmental clues not only reveal information about the characters, but also show how our personal spaces can reflect and impact our emotions. The way we perceive and interact with our environment is unique to each individual and is influenced by cultural and social factors. Through the lens of a character's perspective, fiction can offer a deeper understanding of their personality and experiences. Storr's book also discusses the difference between Western and Eastern storytelling traditions and how they reflect cultural perspectives on change. In the West, stories focus on individual struggle and victory, while in the East, stories emphasize the pursuit of harmony. Westerners see reality as composed of separate pieces that need to be controlled, while Easterners view reality as interconnected forces that need to be brought back into harmony. Despite these differences, both storytelling traditions serve a common purpose: lessons in control. Storr also explores how our brains defend our flawed models of the world and how conflicts arise when encountering differing perspectives. He highlights the importance of dialogue and the challenges of changing deeply ingrained beliefs. The protagonist's journey of change in storytelling is also discussed, often triggered by an ignition point that forces them to question their deepest beliefs and flaws. The author provides an example from the novel, The Remains of the Day, to illustrate how an ignition point can challenge a character's theory of control and set them on a path of self-discovery. Hero maker within the human mind is the tendency to create narratives that portray oneself as morally superior and justify one's actions. Memories are subjective and can be distorted to fit the heroic story we want to tell ourselves. This hero-making narrative is driven by our automatic emotional hunches and can lead to a clash of moral perceptions between individuals. The author emphasizes the power of these narratives in shaping our beliefs and actions. The example of the protagonist in The Remains of the Day is used to illustrate the internal struggle and transformation that can occur when one's model of the world is challenged. Despite the thrilling surface events of a story, it ultimately lacks meaning without a specific person to experience them. In storytelling, character is essential for creating gripping and meaningful narratives. The strength of a story lies not in the action or events alone, but in how we see a specific character with their unique history, strengths, and flaws navigate through it all. Whether it's James Bond or a police procedural drama, the motives and internal conflicts of the characters drive the plot and engage the audience. Every story seeks to answer the fundamental question of who the protagonist truly is. However, the reality is that we, as humans, often confabulate and are unaware of our own true motivations and feelings. This gap between our self-perception and reality is what creates surprise, conflict, and drama in storytelling, making the process of self-discovery fascinating to both protagonists and audiences alike. Storr's book explores the concept of multiplicity within human consciousness. It argues that individuals are not a single, unified entity, but rather a collection of different selves with different goals and values. These different selves fight for control over who we are, and at different times, one version of ourselves becomes dominant. This multiplicity is evident in conditions such as alien hand syndrome, where a person's hand behaves independently of their conscious control. Well-told stories reflect this multiplicity by portraying characters who are both consistent and constantly shifting. These characters reflect the interplay between the conscious level of our day-to-day lives and the subconscious level of competing urges and emotions. Overall, the author emphasizes that our behavior is a result of the battles between these different selves within us. Lawrence of Arabia is a complex character who embodies rebelliousness and vanity. Throughout the story, his flawed theory of control drives his actions. His experiences in the desert and the success of his rebelliousness further fuel his vanity. However, beneath the surface, cracks start to appear as he is disturbed by his brutal actions and the consequences they have. Lawrence begins to question who he really is and whether his theory of control is valid. The military chiefs play into his vanity, convincing him to continue his actions. Eventually, Lawrence is caught and tortured, forcing him to realize the consequences of his actions. He admits to being an ordinary man, but is convinced that he is extraordinary. The story explores the constant struggle between conscious and subconscious and the ever-changing nature of identity. Storr discusses the importance of dialogue in storytelling and its ability to provide crucial information about characters and drive the narrative forward. He highlights two examples, one from the TV series Marion and Jeff and another from the play Death of a Salesman, to demonstrate the power of dialogue in revealing character traits, relationships, and conflicts. He then delves into the evolutionary origins of storytelling and how humans have evolved to respond to tales of heroism and villainy. Stories have been essential for human survival as they help tribes control self-interested behavior and maintain cooperation. The book also discusses the universal nature of gossip and its role in teaching us about others' behavior and enforcing social rules. Primal cravings triggered by stories showcase selfless behavior as heroic and selfish behavior as evil. Humans are naturally drawn to stories that trigger their sense of moral outrage as it satisfies their need for justice. Additionally, humans have a deep-rooted desire for status, which is reflected in the stories we tell. Status and hierarchy play a significant role in human societies, as well as in the animal kingdom. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, also exhibit status-seeking behavior. In stories, protagonists often start as underdogs who eventually rise to a position of dominance, mirroring the path of chimpanzee alphas. The loss of status can be devastating, as seen in Shakespeare's King Lear. Ultimately, stories tap into our primal emotions and desires for justice and status. Storr discusses how humiliation can lead to extreme and destructive behavior. He references the story of Cassius and Caesar, where Cassius's humiliation as a child fuels his hatred towards Caesar. The writer also explores how tribal stories and identities shape our behavior and sense of self. He notes that humans have a deep desire for status and that tribal stories provide instructions on how to achieve and maintain status within a group. These tribal stories can be divisive and blind us to the complexities of reality, leading to hostility and violence between different groups. Storytelling can be powerful, and it can manipulate our emotions and perceptions. Tribes throughout history have used stories to galvanize and motivate their members against enemies, often exploiting outrage, tribal humiliation, and disgust. The writer also explores the role of antiheroes in storytelling and why we are often drawn to them, despite their morally questionable actions. Stories serve as a form of play that allows us to explore our darker selves and find relief in embracing evil, even if only in our imaginations. The chapter concludes by discussing how William Shakespeare revolutionized storytelling by breaking the rules and removing neat explanations for character behavior, resulting in deeper and more complex narratives. Storr discusses the concept of origin damage in storytelling and its impact on human behavior. He explores how authors often obscure the root causes of their characters' damage, leaving room for interpretation and engagement from readers, emphasizing the importance of defining origin damage in the minds of writers before creating vivid characters on the page. He also delves into the formation of neural models of reality during childhood and adolescence and how they shape individuals' perceptions and experiences as adults. He highlights the role of harmful childhood experiences in impairing our ability to control our social environment and emphasizes the inherent struggle for control that all principal characters in stories face. The journey to self-discovery and change is the central question that both stories and lives pose to individuals. When unexpected change occurs, humans have a natural inclination to face it head-on, fight, and strive towards a goal. This desire for goal direction is fundamental to both successful stories and successful lives. Our goals provide order, momentum, and logic to our lives, shaping our perception and driving us to take action. In fact, humans have a primal compulsion to make things happen, as powerful as the need for food and water. Goal direction gives our lives meaning and purpose, fueling our optimism and sense of destiny. It is this pursuit of a meaningful goal that brings us happiness and fulfillment. Stories, whether in books or video games, tap into these deep-seated desires, offering us a narrative to follow, challenges to overcome, and a sense of achievement as we strive towards our goals. Ultimately, a life without goals is devoid of purpose, leading to disappointment and despair. The author explores different theories and structures of plot in storytelling. He discusses the idea of a universal plot design that centers around a midpoint peak, which he describes as a life-changing moment. He also mentions various theories such as a 3-act sequence, a 15-point beat sheet, and a 22 plot point structure. He emphasizes the importance of plot in testing and changing the protagonist. He mentions the analysis of story structure using big data, and how it supports the concept of basic plots and the theme of human connection. Storr then discusses the importance of change in plot, both on the surface and in the subconscious layers of the story. He also talks about the significance of the dramatic question and the final battle that challenges the protagonist's identity. The way a story ends is when change stops and control is achieved, as control is what the brain constantly craves. Different stories provide different endings, some satisfying our need for control and justice, while others challenge our desire for control and leave us devastated. The endings of Lars von Trier's Dancer in the Dark and Damien Chazelle's La La Land both play with our need for control, but in different ways. The ending of The Remains of the Day offers a promise of transformation and growth for the butler Stevens, while the ending of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest culminates in a moment of complete control for Chief Bromden. Stories have the power to transport us and change our beliefs, creating empathy and challenging tribal thinking. It is through stories that we find wisdom and learn valuable lessons about life. Discovering our neural models' vulnerabilities requires us to listen for their distress. During moments of irrational emotions and defensiveness, we are protecting the parts of ourselves that are most fragile and distorted in perception. It is crucial to confront and repair these flaws, as it will be a challenging battle. Embracing this challenge and emerging victorious makes us heroes. Storytelling offers solace through truth. Being part of a deeply sociable species means we are constantly surrounded by individuals striving to control us. The deceptive smiles and gentle lies we encounter aim to manipulate and make us pliant. Human sociality can cause us to feel disconnected without understanding why. However, in stories, masks are shattered. Stepping into another flawed mind reassures us that our struggles are not unique. Stories bridge minds in an unparalleled way, giving us hope that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. Thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.